Good evening. We are happy you could join us on NTV Weekend Edition, and a happy Mother's Day. Dennis, did you wish your mama happy Mother's Day?
Of course I did that, but I had to go visit her physically. I went home, hugged her, wished her a happy Mother's Day. I did one or two things that I can share now.
You're a good son. Before we get into more of that, here's what we've lined up for you.
Tonight, DCI seeks 48 KRA employees linked to tax evasion ring. 41 others to be charged on Monday.
And clogged sinks, undisposed medical waste and dirty laundry. Kirinyaga County Government's Cleanup Act as KMPDU's inspectors warn of deeper problems.
Indeed, there exist several anomalies, especially in waste and sanitation.
Plus, DP Ruto censures what he calls meddling politicians.
Mambo ya Jubilee, kama wewe uko na chama yako. My friends, tuheshimu kama chama ya Jubilee.
As talk of constitutional change gains momentum.
Tuna change katiba kwa sababu ya Kenya, si kwa sababu ya mtu mmoja.
And in our special tonight, we revisit the Solai Dam tragedy. Affected and afflicted residents slowly rebuilding.
I never ever actually thought that something like that. I didn't even know that there were things like HSC.
NTV Weekend Edition with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
It also happens to be a very, very special day, not just for mothers, but also for the nurses. It's also International Nurses Day, celebrating the achievements of nurses and their contribution to the society. Our sign language presenter tonight is David Gondoa. Let's start off. The Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, has ordered 48 Kenya Revenue Authority employees to surrender themselves at the DCI headquarters by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
These 48 KRA staff are expected to be arraigned alongside 41 others arrested last Friday and charged with abetting tax evasion, among other corruption-related offences.
NTV's Seth Alale with the latest corruption crackdown at KRA.
The 48 staff drawn from 3 departments are required to have reported to the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road by Monday at 7 a.m. Out of the 48, 32 are from the KRA's Domestic Taxes Department, 15 from the Customs and Border Control Department, and 1 from the Investigations and Enforcement Department. Some of the wanted senior staff at the Domestic Taxes Department include Fernandez Munasia Mutui, an assistant manager, Zuhura Kuli Hassan, a supervisor, Paul Nzomo Mutua, a supervisor, and Edwin Mukuri Mbugwa, also a supervisor. Senior staff from the Customs and Border Control Department also wanted include Joseph Kuyolegei, a chief manager, Margaret Wangari Muhoro, supervisor, and Philemon Kiplangat, also a supervisor. Francis Zakayo Sikamoi is the only suspect listed from the Investigations and Enforcement Department. 41 other KRA staff, who include chief managers, supervisors, and revenue officers, drawn from KRA offices at Times Towers, Samia Park, CBC Buildings, Thika, Forodha House, and the Kilindini Harbour in Mombasa, are spending the 3rd consecutive night in various police stations after being arrested during a Friday morning operation. Those in detention, together with the 48 wanted for arrest, are expected to be arraigned in court on Monday, where they will be charged with abetting tax evasion, among other corruption-related offences. The implicated KRA staff are suspected to be operating in cahoots with brokers and clearing agents to facilitate tax evasion. This, as Kenya Revenue Authority reportedly recorded a shortfall of revenue collection amounting to 43.3 billion shillings as from November last year. In 2015, President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered KRA to conduct a lifestyle audit of its staff, targeting 70 top managers in a bid to stop the loss of revenue. But little is known about the outcome of this audit. Seth Olale, NTV.
More trouble is brewing for the Kerugoya Hospital after the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board pointed out its deficiencies in its sanitation and waste management operations.
The board visited the hospital today after hue and cry by the public over the state of the hospital. The board's findings come after Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru constituted a task force to clean up and recommend solutions to the hospital's ailments.
A cleaning frenzy grips the Kerugoya Referral Hospital. They work to beat the clock to get the facility in spick and span condition before inspectors from Nairobi make their way here. The inspectors from the medical board drawn here by reports of the rot at the hospital. Images from the hospital showed broken down sinks, unwashed linen, undisposed medical waste and general malaise at the health facility. The extensive check on the facility by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentist Board members showed that the problems at the hospital could be running much deeper.
I wish to confirm that we went through the hospital thoroughly and confirmed that indeed there exist several anomalies, especially in waste and sanitation.
The board says it will be presenting its report to the Ministry of Health tomorrow.
And this will enable her to advise the governor and all the other relevant officials on how to correct this.
Everything is under control, and that the national government is prepared and willing to work very closely with the governor, Kirinyaga County, to make sure that Kerugoya Hospital, Referral Hospital, is improved.
The hospital's problems have been blamed on the firing of part of the casual labor from the facility about 2 weeks ago, a move the county government says was necessary. On her social media pages, the governor says the move was justified as a facility with a bed capacity of 200 had close to 700 staff members, a situation that raised the wage bill at the facility.
We needed to undertake an audit, which is what we are doing. We are undertaking an audit to establish not just the casuals, but also the staff within the Department of Health alongside other departments, which is ongoing concurrently.
The hospital also says lapses occurred in the movement of 2 key units, the kitchen and the laundry.
And in the movement of the laundry area, there was a bit of a lapse, and that's what resulted to the laundry machines not working on time, and that's why we've had a bit of an issue, but I wouldn't call it a major crisis.
The governor has formed a task force to oversee the immediate cleanup of the hospital, as well as to prepare a report providing firm solutions to the hospital's issues in the next 2 weeks. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
And here's more about another hospital in pretty bad shape. The Kenya Medical and Kenya Medical and Practitioners and Dentists Board has outlined a number of reasons as to why they ordered the closure of the Shalom Hospital in Machakos and the cancellation of its operating licenses.
These actions come after a 7-month-old baby died while receiving treatment at the facility last week. On the facility's leadership, the joint inquiry found that there were no senior doctors contracted for higher level care, and the nurses in charge, together with the nurse on duty, were unaware of coverage roster.
Well, the patient attendant was manning treatment area alone, doing procedures not in her job description and handling dangerous drugs classified under the Dangerous Drugs Act. There was also an inexperienced clinical officer running the casualty alone and other pharmaceutical technologists running emergency pharmacy, including dangerous drugs.
The hospital fails to follow standard operating procedures in this case. Detectives have launched investigations into the circumstances under which a Kenya Navy officer shot dead his colleague before turning the gun on himself Saturday evening at the Mtongwe base in Mombasa. The officer that sources have identified as Kibet reportedly shot his colleague, only identified as Kimtai, under unclear circumstances. A senior Kenya Defence Force KDF officer who we cannot name said Kibet shot Kimtai 3 times before turning the gun on himself. He succumbed to his injuries while being rushed to the hospital. Likoni Deputy DCI boss David Nyaramba said officers from his office are on the ground pursuing the matter. The incident comes 3 weeks after Likoni Deputy OCS Joab Omondi shot and killed a woman identified as Ms. Penina Kaimenyi before shooting himself in the head.
To politics now, Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi took his handshake for handcuff campaign to Kisumu, where he claimed that the country was experiencing bad governance as a result of corruption.
The ANC leader told worshippers at the Christ is the Answer Ministries that it was high time the church leadership in Kenya joined the fight against graft to salvage their country's economic potential. He warned President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga against substituting the handshake with a war on graft.
The buck stops with the president. We are constantly emphasizing that the president should speak less about the issues relating to corruption and act more. Our simple clarion call is that Mr. President, toa pingu.
Staying with politics, Deputy President William Ruto continued his onslaught of ODM leader Raila Odinga, accusing him of political conmanship. He said he was using his newfound friendship with the president to derail the Jubilee agenda.
But elsewhere, other leaders who have been openly critical of his presidential ambitions are asking investigating officers to tighten the noose around those accused of graft, including raiding their homes for stashed cash. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Morede with the day's political happenings.
For the second day running, Deputy President William Ruto pitched camp in Turkana County, where he tore into opposition leader Raila Odinga, who has in the past enjoyed support from the area.
Nyinyi wengine ambao mumezoea utapeli na ukora na ujanja, musi-export mambo ya utapeli na uganga na conmanship ndani ya Jubilee. Mwendelee na hiyo mambo yenu kule.
Ruto, who has been uncomfortable with Odinga's perceived closeness to President Kenyatta, argued that Raila would add no value in Jubilee and its development agenda.
If you are used to conning people in parties and deceit in your agreements with fellow leaders, don't export those bad manners into our political party.
Nataka nishutumu wale watu ambao wanapinga wewe na viongozi wengine kuzungukia Kenya, kutoa kile kidogo Mungu amekupatia ili kujenga hekalu ya Bwana, ili kuendesha kazi ya Bwana na kusema ati usiende.
But even as Ruto hammered the point against Raila, another group of leaders openly opposed to his 2022 presidential ambitions and led by Baringo Senator Gideon Moi and nominated MP Maina Kamanda took its anti-Ruto campaigns to Meru.
Kenya has changed after the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. Na hiyo handshake imeungwa mkono na viongozi wengine kama Gideon Moi, Kalonzo Musyoka na wale wengine. Hapa nikiwauliza, nani vice president wa Trump? Kuna ule namjua? Nani vice president wa Kagame ama Museveni? Mnamjua? Na huku nasema Kenya na siogopi. Uhuru apewe heshima, apatiwe nafasi yake afanye kazi.
Tusaidie Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Tumpate nafasi to deliver the promises he gave to Kenyans.
The team focused their energies on the war on graft, turning on the heat on the deputy president and what they termed as suspect donations that he has made to top churches.
Muwe mukituuliza Maina Kamanda kwa sababu unafanya kazi na nini, leta cheki yako hapa. Kwa sababu cheki nikiandika hata $1,000,000, sitaandika ingine kesho ama kesho kutwa. Sababu hiyo pesa presiding bishop itakuwa wapi?
The story of corruption has messed up this country and we are very sad about it.
In Naivasha, another group of leaders under the Team Kieleweke umbrella got a dressing down from Naivasha MP Jane Kihara, who extolled the deputy president's success in the Mount Kenya region.
Mkitoka kwetu Central, mjue hapa ni Rift Valley. Na kuheshimu sana. Ukiongea, uongee mambo ya kwenu. Usiongee mambo ya hapa kile hujui. Kwa sababu sisi hatuna deni. Mheshimiwa hatuna deni. None tole kareko. Ujue hivyo. Kwa hivyo ukija kuniambia nirudi pande hii, mimi naheshimu rais wetu. Na hakuna mtu mmesikia amesimama akasema anafanya campaign. Hata Ruto mwenyewe hajasema. Kama Uhuru Kenyatta amechaguliwa kama president, tumpatie nafasi afanye kazi kama nani? President. Na akiona ni vizuri afanye handshake ili maisha iendelee, na yeye ni mkubwa wetu, sisi tunafanya nini? Tunamfuata.
The fight against graft featured in the day's politics as they called on the relevant investigative bodies to tighten the nose on corrupt individuals, including conducting searches in their homes. Kennedy Muredhi, NTV.
Well, the referendum debate is back to the fore as former Prime Minister Raila Odinga set off the discussion about constitutional change.
His message has rattled leaders allied to the deputy president who insist the referendum is not a priority.
It's a touchy subject, one that has all leaders on their toes. ODM leader Raila Odinga set off another round of political banter in his unerring message that the deputy president has since dismissed.
Uhuru amesema hajasema yeye anataka tena aendelee mbele. Raila hajasema anataka kwenda kuwania kiti ya urais tena.
Hiyo mabadiliko yenu mnaongelea ati mabadiliko ya maisha ya viongozi na vyeo na viti na hiyo mambo ingine, tunataka tuwaambie Kenya hii sio ya wanasiasa peke yake.
Other leaders have also joined in the opposition, saying the referendum is not a priority.
Mambo ya referendum time has not come for us to think about it. We just need to use the systems that are in place and respect the systems in this country. We cannot go into referendum at this early stage.
Hakuna referendum tutafanya hii Kenya. Take it from me. Because we want to earn our salary, Mr. Raila Odinga, we are going to make the constitutional changes from parliament. Because that's where we are paid. Mshahara ingine, sitting allowance.
In what has reframed the battle between the deputy president and ODM leader Raila Odinga, leaders have also picked sides.
Kwa wale wanasema watapinga, sio jambo geni kwetu. Wakati ule walipinga na katiba ilipitishwa, au sio? Wakati huu pia watapinga na tutaipitisha.
Odinga has been proposing changes to the governance structure, retracing the proposals of the Burrows draft. This includes a parliamentary system with an elected president and deputy. Deputy President William Ruto has also backed a referendum but took a diametrically opposed path to that of Odinga. He proposed a reconstitution of the national executive headed by the president, and the head of the official opposition headed by the leader of a party whose candidate wins the second highest number of votes. The Third Way Alliance proposed a one-term presidency to end to do-or-die political contests. He also proposed a reduction in the number of members of parliament and scrapping off of the women reps and deputy governors' positions. The Third Way Alliance, however, says the IEBC is yet to respond to the Punguza Mzigo bill since they submitted it to end the 1.4 million signatures they had collected in February. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Well, it's 20 minutes past the hour. It's time to take a break. We'll be back with more stories on Weekend Edition.
Thank you for staying with NTV Weekend Edition, and you'll be glad you did, because in our special report tonight, we revisit the tragedy of the night of May 9th last year, when millions of liters of water broke from the confines of Patel Dam in Sulai, Nakuru County.
Downhill, the resultant floods left more than 40 people dead and scores injured in the villages of Energy and Nyakenyua.
Since then, the owners of the dam have been charged alongside other government officials on manslaughter charges, with human rights groups seeking to institute a civil compensation suit against the Patel farm.
NTV's Bridget Ngana spent some time with the residents of Sulai and now brings us a special report on healing the scars of Sulai a year on.
Rose Wangoi is a mother again for the 5th time. Her joy, however, is dampened. Her memory haunted by the events on the night of May 9th last year. When the waters of the Patel Dam broke, releasing torrents of angry and murderous waters, they robbed her of her 4 children a year later. And those emotional scars are still raw. So much that to date, venturing outside is a struggle.
Isipokuwa ni Mungu, mahali niko saa hii singekuwa. Saa hii nimebarikiwa na mtoto, na ngojea tu Mungu anibariki na mtoto mwingine, aende akinipea watoto wanirudishie watoto wangu. Sasa wenye wanaongea sina shida na wao.
Wangoi says her heart breaks every time she hears a false testimony from an alleged survivor of the dam tragedy.
Unajua sasa ukitokelezea huko barabara unasikia maneno mingi ya watu, unasikia mtu akisema mimi nilibebea watoto wangu na huyo mtu ni uongo. Sasa unasikia roho yako vibaya.
A few meters from her home, life is just about normal. The Maram Road that separated Energy and Nyakenyua villages has since been tarmacked. Buildings, once stone and leveled to their foundations by the waters of the dam, are coming up once again. The terrain, still holding memories of that night in the gullies dug by the more than 200 million liters of water and sludge which violently swept everything along their path downhill. A few marked graves here and there tell of the life that once inhabited a now empty space. Jane Kaur and her son Patrick Wasike are a miracle. Baby Wasike was a month old and was nearly buried in the muddy water, save for the police officer who picked him up from the rubble on that dark night.
Sikuwa nasema hata ni demu, kasa ni maji ya kawaida. Ai, huyu naye akatoka na yake wakaenda, mimi nikarudishia mlango, nikalala. Kutoa tu eti malasi watu nitandikia watoto, nikasikia kuku. Kuangalia hivi nakuta kweli ukuta ilikuwa nyumba ya mawe. Kaona imekraki, ukuta imekuwa nyeupe. Dakika 5 nikasikia tu fuku, hakuna mmoja alishikilia mtu. Sisi tulijikuta tumeenda, hata mimi nilikuwa bila niliokolewa nilikuwa nasema watu wamekufa.
Jane lost her 2 older children aged 2 and 5, whose graves she frequently visits at the public cemetery. Her grief still raw.
Mbeleni wakati ya kwanza watu wangu wawili sana nilikuwa nakumbukanga kwa ndoto sana. Yaani nilikuwa nikikaa hivi nasikia naota. Kwa hata siku moja hata nikaenda siku moja kanisa nikaambua ukisikia ndoto na kukujia kemea, utaacha kukujia. Hiyo mtu alikuwa nini mgeni ulikuwa umesoeana naye, sasa kabla useme nikusahau ni ngumu. Kila siku hizi inaenda tu polepole ukisahau tu.
Until that night, Mary Waruguru ran a clinic that assisted persons living with disability here. And when disaster struck, her clinic was a fort of refuge for those fleeing and was the first aid center for the rescued. Her heroic act of helping those in need with only basic first aid skills saved the lives of more than 10 people, among them baby Wasike. In the past year, she received a head of state commendation.
When I was nominated for the HSC commendation, I was shocked. I never, ever actually thought that something like that. I didn't even know that there were things like HSC or like anything like presidential awards. No, I never knew anything like that. So really humbled by everything.
Warogoro chose to remain in Solai. Here, she's had a first-hand impression of the deep-seated scars that the trail of mud and devastation left behind.
What we've seen a lot of people really need kind of like a counseling center or a trauma center, because we still see the kids still affected by it, the elderly, some people who lost their loved ones. It's not really easy to just recover from grief. It takes a lot of time. And of course, Solai at that moment was still in its, like everyone was talking about Solai. So everyone was coming, the Red Cross were here. But after everything was closed and, you still have some people still suffering from stress.
The owner of the Patel Coffee Estates, Perry Mansuk Kansagara, and the general manager, Vinoj Jayakumar, were charged alongside other government officials with manslaughter and were held responsible for the more than 40 lives lost that night. NTV was granted permission to film in the farm since the tragedy. Most of the activities here depended on the waters from the dams. Beyond the fences of the vast Patel farm, not many would think that such huge losses have been experienced a year after the dam burst, and this led to all of the dams within this farm being decommissioned, and in a sense this loss of water has spoken a wave of death for the life of the plants that depended on the water here.
The dams are empty now, so we have no water, and that's why you can see the tea could not make it through the dry spell. Because of this, we are also not able to give equal employment opportunities to all the folks around the farm. Normally we used to employ 1,500 people, but now we have just come down to about 700 people because there's no water and things have dried up.
From a place of plenty, the farm is now barely struggling to survive. Another blow for the residents who depended on this farm for employment.
Kila mmoja ameguzwa na kile ambacho kilitokea hapa, janga lililotokea hapa. Kwa kuwa jirani zetu ambao walikuwa wanategemea sisi kwa hali na mali, sasa wamepungukiwa. Watoto wa shule walikuwa wakipata fedha zao za kwenda shuleni kutoka kwa shamba hili. Baadhi ya wafanyakazi waliokuwa wakifanya kazi na wakasimamishwa wako katika shida sana, kwa sababu watoto wao hawatapata fedha ya kulipia mashule, na hata chakula cha tumbo kwanza imekuwa ni haba.
A Senate inquest into the tragedy concluded that it was not a natural occurrence, but a man-made accident.
The only report that was accurate is a report of the Cabinet Secretary, which detailed by picture, showing that in fact what was in that, what is now famously known as the Millimet Dam, was not supposed to be there in the first instance. And therefore, this was a deliberate action done by the owner with impunity, and therefore he is liable legally for all the damage that has been done.
Some of the survivors of the tragedy, however, still rally behind the owners of the Patel Coffee Estates.
Kama angekuwa ni yeye, kama angekuwa anajua hata maji itakuja haribu, angekuwa ametuambia kitambo. Sasa tulikuwa tu bahati mbaya, hata mwenyewe akupenda. Na unajua hata mbeleni Patel alikuwa ametoa pesa mzuri, wakora nayo wengi sana. Waliweka hiyo pesa Patel hivi, wakaikatakata mpaka ikaenda. Nilikuwa na stahili fikia watu haikuwafikia hivyo.
Operation zote ile ambao maduka unaona kando kando wanategemea yeye. Wafanyakazi wao wote wanategemea hiyo maduka ile ambao iko kando kando. Mbele ilikuwa wanategemea kwa hii duka yake. Sasa yeye amepanua maneno ya Solai. Solai imepanuka, imejulikana. Kama atatoka kwa community, hata sifikiri kama atatoka. Yeye ni citizen. Tumezaliwa na yeye hapa, ataenda wapi?
We have been doing a lot of social work for the people right through the years. And it continues. Basically, the Patel family have always been very magnanimous towards the community.
Solai's livelihood depends on Patel. So the community here, a lot of them support the way he wants to help people. They want that. They don't want to be fighting with him, because you cannot fight someone who feeds your family. You cannot fight that.
But for those still hurting from the loss visited upon them by the dam, those whose internal wounds are still sore, no amount of kindness will bring back their loved ones.
Tuseme tu maisha si mbaya na sio mzuri, tuseme tu maisha iko katika sababu hata unajua ikiwa mbaya na sio wote ni binadamu, lazima utavumilia. Yote mabaya na mazuri na kujanga yote kwa binadamu. Sasa kama pale sama chakula hivi ama nini shida. Kwanza mwili yangu sisi fanya kazi mbali sana. Nikienda kazi hii kama yesa ya kwa shamba kulima hivi ama kutembea pale mrefu hivi, bado nikitembea wewe mguu inaniumanga.
Sasa unajua kuna mambo mengine Mungu anaingilia kati juu. Sasa hata nikisema wafanyiwe kitu watafanyiwa nini? Mimi tu nagojeanga tu Mungu.
It's easy to say if you're not affected, you know, and it's not. You can never you can never pay back a life. You can never pay back a life.
A year on, there is still little on the outside that stands as a testament of the lives forever altered or forever lost. But even though these villages are now close to what they once were, for many living in them, the affliction will never really subside.
As we try to restore the properties and material recovery, we will also seek support in terms of the other members of the community to assist those who are affected to recover fully their life back by ensuring that they get necessary social support in terms of psychosocial support and trying to assist them regain back their life.
Only 37 houses for those who had permanent residences on the path of the destructive waters have since been rebuilt. The Kenya Red Cross Society says the funding for these houses came from the 1 billion shillings fund set aside by the government to help victims of flooding across the country last year.
It was identified that those 37 families, they get at least a 2-bedroom house and a toilet to ensure that they can bounce back as they settle back to their lives. Or in terms of the larger community, maybe there are other people who are affected in different ways, which, if you look at the priority levels, they are not as badly off as those people who lost their houses completely. We expect them to be considered later on as they continue.
The Solai Dam tragedy inspired new regulations that would guide the construction of dams.
For sure, that Solai Dam tragedy was an eye-opener to many people. But because of water security, it's sort of a must or mandatory for us to construct dams. But I would say from then I've seen NEMA, especially in Nakuru County or other counties, come up with very stringent measures to ensure that before a license is issued for construction of the dam, so many factors, engineering controls are put into place. Water Resource Management Authority came up with a list of approved engineers. So you just can't wake up in the morning like you used to do in the olden days, get somebody who will just come and say, I'm going to construct a dam. Now there's processes which are followed. The county governments are involved.
Safety experts still feel that public safety awareness is wanting as far as looking out for danger signs for those living near dams is concerned.
90% of the dams in the world collapse because of seepage. How do you address the seepage issues? I'm sure for the Solai Dam, seepage is a key aspect. It could have been noted. Dams safety is a collected effort. So I think there also needs to be knowledge empowerment to the people working close to the dams or the people living around so they can be able to detect if the dam is a bit faulty. For instance, you will see water flowing near a dam, which might be blackish, reddish in color, which means the underground seepage water is much so there's sort of like a rust color, water which starts flowing. That should be an indicator that something is not good with the dam.
Official records put the total number of people affected by the Patel Dam to over 200. Some of them left Solai, fleeing the haunting memories of the terror-filled night. Some soldier on in the hope that time will heal their troubled souls. But the journey to that healing appears to be one that they will have to take on their own. On the anniversary of the tragedy, there were no tears, flowers, candles, or official ceremony to honor the lives lost in Solai a year on. It's 12 months since the Solai Dam tragedy, the dam whose waters caused massive destruction over a 10-kilometer stretch. It is evident that people have started rebuilding their lives, but their emotional well-being is still in question, with 1 year still being not enough to heal the scars that the dam left behind. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Solai, Nakuru County.
Well, that story by Bridget Ngana takes us to the break, but we will never forget what happened there, the lives of those who lost their lives there, the families that are still healing from those wounds. Will take time, perhaps may take even years, but surely, definitely they will never be forgotten. We'll be back with more stories. Day today. For Zainab Athman, a mother of 5, it's a celebration of the ability to raise her children despite battling breast cancer.
Zainab has been a cancer patient since 2006 and is currently nursing twins who are 8 months old. She tells her story of being a mother and battling affliction to Nuru Abdulaziz.
Zainab Athman, a mother of 5, cuddles one of her twin 8-month-old sons. She was diagnosed with cancer in 2006, back when she was just a mother of 1. For her, Mother's Day is a time of reflection and gratitude that she can look upon her children as a gift.
It took me like a month, ama kitu mwezi na nusu hivi, to disclose to family members now. Actually, after daktari akiniambia, I thought now, he needed sentence.
She started her treatment in 2007 and tried hard to shield them from her pain.
And my daughter used to stand kwa mlango ya bedroom, anachungulia, you dark, I'm light. So hiyo time umekuwa dark, so she's peeping, anasema, ule si mamangu. At some point, walisimamisha kwanza treatment. I go through kuonekana na psychologist.
4 of her children, including the twins, were born after she had started receiving her treatment. It's been a whirlwind since, and as far as she's come in her journey, she still fears for them.
Ule mwingine alikufa na jaundice. I think it was a complication case of jaundice and blood ilikuwa iko kidogo or something. Yani ilikuwa a lot of, but daktari aliniambia with the medication you were using, it was bound labda to happen. So accept kadri ya Allah. Now, usifanye test nyingi, kufanya postmortem, find out mtoto amefariki kwa sababu ya nini ama kitu hiyo. So when I had the second one, now Sheha alikaa hospitali for a week, for almost a month. And I was like, my God, what am I doing? Why am I even getting pregnant in the first place?
In 2017, she found out she was pregnant again.
Na nakumbuka nikiangalia daktari, I cried. Nililia yani. Namza Mwenyezi Mungu, kwa nini unanipa mtihani kiasi?
Due to her condition, the twins were born preterm.
Hizo medication na nini, I think maziwa ilikatika tu. And then ile ilikuja sasa as a challenge. Nimejifungua, nimekaa wiki 3. Mamangu akaugua sana. Ile stress na nini, I think maziwa ile ndio ikipungua. Baada ya kumaliza mwezi mmoja mamangu akafariki. Na sasa ndo amenilea, ameniuguza hiyo wakati yote. Akafariki. Sasa hapo ndo mtihani ilianza.
It has not been a smooth ride with the twins, but she says she will give them all she can while she can.
Maziwa mkebe wanatumia siku 1.5. Sasa wako wawili. Unajua ikiwa mmoja afadhali. Sasa hapa tuko wawili. Na hiyo maziwa uko nayo haitoshi. Yaani watoto wanalia usiku. Mpaka mimi nasema mimi nitaanza kuwapea uji ama kitu kama hiyo. Naambiwa bado. Ngojea mpaka wafike sijui nini.
Zainab says the diagnosis forced her firstborn daughter to play the role of mother to her siblings. She advises mothers going through a difficult patch not to give up and keep the faith. Nuru Abdulaziz, NTV.
Quite the inspirational story. Now we take a tinsy-wincy break, but please do stay with us. I promise you, it'll be worth it.
Welcome back. Now, all day we've been celebrating the givers of life, it being Mother's Day, but we may have been marking it to the exclusion of the lesser-known holidays and observances. Did you know, for instance, that today is, apart from International Nurses Day, also Chronic Fatigue Syndrome Awareness Day, even Buddha Day, and as we contend with the deplorable state of Kerugoya Referral Hospital, as it is also National Hospital Day in the United States of America.
This week, a BBC disc jockey found himself in hot soup after posting this photo of a couple holding hands with a chimp to mimic the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, when they introduced their son, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, wow, quite the mouthful, to the world. The DJ, Danny Baker, later apologized for the tweet, admitting that it was ill-advised but denying that it was motivated by racism.
Stupid, but racist? No.
Ranger Matthew Shamavu of Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo and adopt, then raise an orphaned gorilla or two. Happy Mother's Day, Matthew, and while I salute your dedication to your job, let's just say, well, I think Kevin Hart said it best.
The gorilla about to grab me because it felt like somebody was doing this. And I was like, I got to do something. I got to get the gorilla off me.
I can't watch it. It's too much. I'm too young for this stuff. Too young for that stuff.
Oh, it looks like you agree with the Iranian censors.
Oh, yes, I do. We take a break. We'll be back with the sports news. Stay with us.
the English Premier League. It was crazy in the newsroom as well. A very good evening to you and welcome to NTV Sport. I'm Ida Waringa. And dominant Manchester City have successfully retained their Premier League title on the final day of an exhilarating 2018-19 campaign. A 2-0 victory over second-place Sofapaka in Kisumu. This as current league top scorer Alan Wanga helped Kakamega Homeboys record a third straight win.
The Buhungu Stadium saw Kakamega Homeboys captain Alan Wanga extend his tally to 18 league goals this season as Kakamega beat Western Stima 2-0. Both goals would come after the break, Wanga converting from the spot in the 62nd minute before Maxwell Ravel doubled the lead 5 minutes later. Homeboys lie 4th with 51 points, while Stima are 13th with 31. Tusker FC were forced to wait till stoppage time to salvage a point at Raraka, forcing a 1-1 draw with Nzoia Sugar. Sudanese midfielder Jackson Dwang put the Millers ahead. Nzoia were on course to pull a season double over the Brewers before Amini Muzerwa equalized in the dying minutes. Tusker are 6th on the log while Nzoia are 12th. Vihiga United's hopes of relegation survival were dealt a major blow after being held to a 1-0 draw by Posta Rangers at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Nambute Francis put Posta ahead after a goalkeeping blunder before Alex Imbusia converted a free kick to make the tie even after the break. Posta are in 14th position with 30 points, while Vihiga stay put at 16th with 25. In the day's highlight, Gor Mahia beat Sofapaka 2-0 to solidify their lead at the summit of the log. At the Moi International Sports Complex Kasarani, another walkover was awarded as Mount Kenya United failed to show up for their league match against Mathare United, citing lack of pay. This is the second time the bottom-placed club has boycotted a match. Zoo Kericho edged Ulinzi Stars 2-1 in Kericho, and Sony Sugar and AFC Leopards shared the spoils in a 0-0 draw.
And Bandari FC and defending champions Kariobangi Sharks will meet in the final of the FKF Sport Pesa Shield on June 1st, 2019. Bandari booked their place following a 6-1 win over SS Assad in the semi-final played in Machakos. Abdallah Hassan netted a brace with Yama Mwana, Darius Msaga, William Wadri and Wycliffe Ochomo also on target as the coastal side easily strolled into the final. Athman Bori scored Assad's consolation. Kariobangi Sharks advanced after what was a scrappy victory over KCB. Former Sharks defender Bolton Omwenga would gift his former employer with an own goal to help Kariobangi book a third successive final slot. The winner of the tournament will take home 2 million shillings in prize money, as well as a chance to represent the country in the 2019-2020 CAF Confederations Cup.
We were very serious about this game, this match. We've taken Assad like a normal team in Premier League. We've not underrated them. That's why we've won this game, this match. Yeah.
At least we have something to show for us the year ends, but it's not yet over yet. So maybe we need to be careful enough. But again, we need to enjoy ourselves, being that it's going to be the final. We try and see. At least maybe we need to go back and play in the Continentals, and that's the only shortcut to it.
And Egypt's Ahmed Adli and Uganda's Ivy Amoko have booked their tickets to the Chess World Cup 2019 slated for September in Russia. This after winning the men and ladies categories respectively at the Africa Zone 4.2 Individual Chess Championship that was held in Mombasa this weekend. Now with the victory, Grandmaster Adli, a former world junior champion, went home with 100,000 shillings, while Amoko was crowned as the woman international master by the World Chess Federation and pocketed 50,000. The best placed Kenyans were Matthew Kanegani, who finished 8th in the men's open section, and former national champion Joyce Nyaruya, who finished in 5th in the women's.
Just keep winning and winning and winning.
Thank you.
And to some fast cars now, where Lewis Hamilton roared back to the top of the Formula One World Championship with victory in Spain as Mercedes continued their record start to a season with a 5th consecutive 1-2. The 76th victory of the five-time world championship sent Britain 7 points clear of Finnish teammate Valtteri Bottas after 5 of the 21 races. Max Verstappen finished 3rd for Honda-powered Red Bull, with Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc at a loss to rein in Mercedes, crossing the line 4th and 5th respectively. Well, quite an action-packed, a sporty Sunday that was. That wraps it up for now. We play again tomorrow. Do enjoy your viewing. I'm passing it back to Olive and Dennis. And one thing I will say is this. Dennis must be happy that the season is over, because that means there will be no more discussion about Manchester United, at least for now. Back to you.
No, I couldn't help but, feel sorry for people who are betting on these games today. People are losing lots of money, and I can imagine what people are feeling across the country. But the football season, I think it's over. At least let's have some breather, watch Grand Prix, watch cartoons or something else.
We get to. Okay, let me not even say anything.
Well, that's all we had for you this night. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dennis Okari.
And I'm Olive Burrows, taking back control of the remote control.